It's beginning of 2025. What do you feel like God's been speaking to you lately?
Man, coming out of the seasons that we just went through, Thanksgiving, Christmas, it's one of those times where I think a lot of people do this, but just very mindful of God's faithfulness. One of the traditions that we have at our family, when we decorate our Christmas tree, anytime we go anywhere, we get an ornament from that trip, that city, that nation, wherever it is. And so when we decorate that tree, a part of the process for us is remembering all the trips and the vacations and the experiences that we have as a family. We put them up and we begin to tell stories, and there's a lot of laughter. And next thing you know, like, we're throwing pictures up on the TV, through Apple AirPlay, and just reminiscing. And so there's a mindfulness that begins to take place. And anytime that we're mindful of what God's done in our life, there's an attitude of thankfulness. And an attitude of thankfulness will lead to a spirit of worship, where it's like, God, just thank you for your faithfulness in my life. And I think that's something that I've been very mindful of. The other night I was sleeping, and we're spiritual beings, and I believe even though our bodies are asleep, that God can speak to our spirit in those moments. Sure. And it was one of those moments where I felt like maybe I was half awake and half asleep, but I just heard the words in my heart, rest in my faithfulness. And so, I know he's been faithful, but it was rest in my faithfulness. What does that mean? Man, there's things coming down the road. There's things that I don't know how they're going to work out yet. There's a lot of questions that I might have, and not really anxious about them. I'm not worried about them. But I know they're coming, and I don't have all the answers for them. Sometimes when you're in leadership, it's like, man, I don't have all the answers for this, but I just heard the words rest in my faithfulness. And then a verse that popped into my heart that doesn't really necessarily fit contextually, but there's a broader scriptural principle here that I think applies. And that's when Paul was addressing the church in Corinth, when they were arguing, who was greater, Paul or Apollos, and it was all centered around envy and pride and jealousy and who's the greatest apostle of them all, and all this prideful language. And Paul just said, listen, that's not what's important. What's important is I planted, Apollos watered, and God provides the increase. The principle here is, man, we're going to sow seeds. We're going to put our hand to work. Seed is often sacrifice. And there's things in our lives, there's things that I'm working on in my life right now, personally, in our family, with my kids, in our finances, in the ministry here at World Compassion, that we've sown seed of time, sown time into other people. We've sown financial seed. We've sown into our kids. It's like we've sown God's word. We've sown wisdom into them. And it's like, God, I'm not seeing it yet. Where is the harvest here? Okay, now I've got work to do. I've got to water. I got to water that seed. I think watering is the work. It's tending to it. It's following up with it. It's praying over it. It's putting our hand to something. God promises to prosper what we put our hand to. Well, that's right. Work. And so, in places where I'm going to put financial seed, I'm not just going to sow seed. I'm going to go put my hand to something and expect the harvest. Okay, so once I sow seed and once I water, once I do the work, now I'm going to rest, and I'm going to rest in God's faithfulness. Well, how do I know he's faithful? Man, it's those Christmas ornaments. Look at all these memories. Look at all these experiences we've had in the past. Look at these things that remind me of his faithfulness. I can rest in knowing that he's the same God yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And so his faithfulness yesterday, his faithfulness today, and his faithfulness tomorrow will be there. I'm going to rest in this faithfulness. I'm not going to sit back and be slothful. I'm not going to sit back and be idle. I'm not going to be lazy. I'm not just going to wait for things to unfold. I'm going to go do the work, but I'm going to rest that he's going to be faithful to bring the harvest, to bring the increase.
Doing what we can in the natural and trusting him to do what only he can do in the supernatural.
That's it, yep.
Love it.